Hello guys, welcome back to my channel Gate Decoders. In this video, we will discuss properties of decomposition, looseless joint decomposition, procedure to check looseless or loosey decomposition, dependency preserving decomposition with examples. Decomposition, the process of splitting a relation R into two or more subrelations to eliminate the data redundancy from the relation. Properties of decomposition. So after decomposing a relation into subrelations, we need to check that this decomposition is appropriate or not. So for this, you have to follow these three uh, properties, or the decomposition must satisfy these three properties. First is looseless joint decomposition, dependency preserving decomposition, and 0% data redundancy. It means after decomposing we have to check whether it allows you to get the original relation or not, and it allows us to check integrity constraints efficiently. So first, looseless joint decomposition. So this is such type okay, so decomposition must be in such a way that it must be looseless. It means if you join all the subrelations together into a single relation, then it must be equal to the original relation R. So here R be the relation schema with instance R, which is decomposed into and relations R1, R2, R3 and so on with instances R1, R2, R3 and so on. Then they are saying in generally, if you join all the subrelations together, then it is the superset of the original relation R. Then if this join is equal to R, then it is looseless joint decomposition, or if it is the superset of R, then it is loosey joint decomposition. So let's consider this example. With the help of this example, we will understand how to find looseless joint decomposition. So here R is a relation with three attributes A, B and C, and it is decomposed into two relations R1 AB and R2 BC. So this is your original relation, and the primary key of this relation is A, and this is the instance R. Okay. So when we decomposed it into two subrelations where R1AB and R2BC, then what you have to do? First you have to project two distinct columns A and B from the relation R. So then you get the relation R1. Same, to get the relation R2, we have to project two columns B and C from the relation R. So that's why we have here R2 relation. Now we have to check whether this decomposition is looseless or loosey. So for this, what you have to do? First, we have to find the join of R1 and R2. So what the join does here? Join combines the relation R1 and R2 together on the basis of the common attribute. So see, in the relation R1 and R2, what is the common attribute? We have B common attribute. Then how the join will be performed here? So every tuple will be combined with those tuples in another relation where the value of the B is same. So the tuple 1, 2 will be combined with those tuples in R2 where the B's value is 2. So this tuple will be combined with 2, 1 and 2, 2. So here we have 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 2. Now take the second tuple. This tuple will be combined with those tuples in R2 where the value of the B is 2. So this tuple will be combined with these two tuples. So that's why here we have two tuples, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2. Now we have the last tuple 3, 1. 3 1 will be combined with those tuples in R2 where the B's value is 1. So this tuple will be combined with this tuple. That's why we have one tuple in R1 join R2, that is 3 1 2. So that's this is the relation R1 join R2. Let's suppose it is alpha relation. Okay. See, I have already discussed all these join operation in previous lectures. So from there you can get all the details of this operation. So here we observe that alpha is the superset of R, because we are getting extra tuples here. That's why we cannot say that alpha is equal to R. Hence the decomposition is lossy decomposition. Okay, so we are getting two tuples extra here. See, 1 to 1 and triple two, 1 2 2 2 and 3 1 2. So these two tuples are extra. So we are getting extra tuples because of the common attribute B, and B is not the primary key of either subrelation. That's why we can say that this is the lossy decomposition. And you can see also here B has duplicate values. So B is not the primary key, and B is not the primary key of any subrelation. So now decompose the same relation into R1AB and R2AC, where A is the common attribute. So in the previous example, B was the common attribute, but now we are taking A is the common attribute. So we have decomposed it into two subrelations, R1 and R2. So now we have to check whether this decomposition is lossy or lossless. For this we have to perform R1 join R2. See, so take this first tuple. This first tuple will be combined with those tuples in R2 where A's value is 1. So that's why it will be combined with this tuple 1 1. We have the entry 1 2 1. So now take another tuple. This tuple will be combined with those tuples in R2 where A's value is 2. So this will be combined with this tuple. Hence we have an entry in R1 join R2, 2, 2 and 2. Last, this tuple will be combined with this tuple 1 1. That's why we have the entry. Oh, I'm sorry. This last tuple will be combined with those tuples in R2 where the value of A is 3. So this will be combined with this. That's why we have the entry 3, 1, 2. So this is your R1 join R2. So we have to check whether this R1 join R2 is equal to R or not. So see, this is equal to this. So that's why we can say this decomposition is lossless decomposition. Okay. This is lossless joint decomposition. See why we are getting lossless decomposition here? Because this is the common attribute A, and this common attribute A is the primary key of both the relations. So that's why we are getting lossless decomposition. And moreover, you can see here A does not have any duplicate value. Okay. Conclusion is, if the common attribute between two subrelation is the super key of any of the subrelations, that is R1 or R2, then decomposition is lossless. Okay. Same here, if the common attribute between these two relations is not the super key of any of the subrelation, then this decomposition is lossy. We have write here not this super key. Okay, then the decomposition is lossy. So here we are talking about only two subrelation, that is R1 and R2. Now solve this example. See, in this example, R is a relation with three attributes with functional dependencies A tend to B, A tend to C, and it is decomposed into two subrelations where R1 has two attributes A and B and R2 B C. So check whether this decomposition is lossy or lossless. So for this, first what you have to do, R1 has two attributes A and B, and R2 has two attributes B and C. First, we have to find a common attribute between these two relations. So the common attribute is B. So now check whether this B is the super key of R1 or R2. For this, you have to find the attribute closure of B. So what is the attribute closure of B? It is only B, because in the functional dependency set B determines no attribute. So that's why we will keep here only B. So B determines no attribute. So that's why we can say B is not the super key of either relation, and that's the reason this decomposition is lossy decomposition. Okay. Now see this second example. In this example, we have functional dependency set and it is decomposed into four decomposition. There are four decompositions. So first take first decomposition, which is A, B, C, and the next is R2, C, D. So first step is find the common attribute between these two relations. The common attribute is C. Now check C is the super key of either relation R1 or R2. For this we have to find attribute closure of C. And what is the attribute closure of C? So C determines C, C determines D. So here C determines D. So we can say that C is the super key of R2. Hence, this decomposition is lossless decomposition. Okay. Now check this relation decomposition. In this decomposition, we don't have any common attribute. So this decomposition has no common attribute. So we have no super key. So that's why this decomposition is lossy decomposition. Now check this third decomposition. In this decomposition, we are getting only attribute A, B and C. But in the original relation, we have four attributes A, B, C, D. So from these decomposition tables, we cannot get the original relation. What I am trying to say that if I join R1 and R2, then I cannot get R. So that's why this relation is lossy. Yeah, this decomposition is lossy decomposition. Now check the fourth decomposition. In this decomposition, this original relation has been decomposed into three sub-relations. So for this, to check whether decomposition is lossy or lossless, we have some rules. So let's see these rules. The procedure to check lossless or lossy decomposition. Let R be the relation schema with FD set F, and it is decomposed into R1, R2, R3 and so on. So given decomposition is lossless only if R1 union R2 union R3 is equal to R. So what they are saying, if the union of all the attributes of all the subrelations is equal to the original relation attributes, then okay, this condition must be satisfied. Let's suppose in the original relation we have three attributes A, B, C. Then in the subrelation, if you have AB and R2 contains BC, then union of all these attributes of all the subrelation must cover the attributes in the original relation. So no attribute of original relation must be left in the subrelations. Now step second. First, Merge two subrelations Ri and Rj into a single relation Rij only if Ri and Rj both have common attribute. So if Ri and J have common attributes, then we have to find that this attribute whether determines Ri's attribute or attributes of Rj. What they are trying to say that you can combine these two relations these two subrelations only if they have the common attribute. So yes, they have the common attribute. Now they are saying check that this common attribute determines all the attributes of whether R2 or R1. That means B must be the super key of either subrelations R2 or R1. Then you can merge two subrelations. Now repeat step A until n subrelations become a single relation. So if n relations become a single relation, then it is lossless decomposition, else it is lossy. So now let's solve the last decomposition here. So first, okay, let me delete all this. Okay, so now let's solve this fourth decomposition. Here we have three relations R1, AB, R2, BC, and R3, CD. So now first check whether all the attributes are covered or not. So in original relation we have four attributes. So here A, B, C, D. So all the attributes covered in subrelations. So now check the second condition. In this we have to merge two relations and then have to get a single relation. So first check whether we can combine these two relations or not. For this, first check whether these two relations have a common attribute or not. Yes, we have a common attribute B. Now check B determines all the attributes of R2 or all the attributes of R1. So for this you have to find the closure of B plus, and what is the attribute closure of B? That is B, C, and C determines D. Okay, so in this case we don't need this D attribute, but it's okay if it is here. So can you see B determines C? So yes, B is the super key of R2, and we can merge these two subrelations into one relation, that is R1, 2, A, B and C. Now check whether we can combine these two relations or not. So both relations have a common attribute, that is C. That's good. So first condition is checked. Now C is the super key of any relation or not. So find this attribute closure of C, that is C and D. So yes, C determines D. So in this C determines D, that's why C is the super key of R3. So we can combine R1, 2 and 3. A, B, C. So after merging all the relations, we can get only a single relation. That's why this is a lossless decomposition. Okay. Now solve this example. Okay. See, in this we have two decomposition. So let's check D1. In this we have four four decomposition tables A, B, then BC, R3, A, B, D, E, and R4, EG. So see, here we have six attributes. So first, these all subrelations must cover the attributes of the original relation. A, B, C, D, E, G. So yes, first condition is true. All the subrelations cover all the attributes of original relation. Now check the second condition. In this we have to merge So can we merge R1 and R2? So first see, is there any common attribute? Yes, B is the common attribute. So now check B is the super key of R1 or R2. So find the attribute closure of B. So what is the attribute closure of B? BD. Okay, but D is not here in any of the sub relations, so we don't need of this D. So B determines only B, and it is trivial dependency. So we can say B does not determine either C or A. That's why B is not the super key of R2 or R1, and we cannot merge R1 and R2. So now check here. In these two relations, B is the common attribute. So now check whether B can determine all the attributes of R3 or R2. So see, we have already found the attribute closure of B, in which we have B and D. So B can determine only D, but it cannot determine A and E. So that's why we cannot merge these two relations. So now check whether we can merge these two relations or not. In this, the common attribute is E. Okay, good. So now check E determines whether G and all the attributes of R3. So whether it determines G or all the attributes of R3. So here you can see E determines G. That's why we can say yes, we can combine these two relations. So let's combine these two relations, R3, R4. Here we have A, B, D, E and G. So now we have three relations, 1, 2 and this 4. Oh, 3. So we have three relations. So now we have to check whether we can combine these relations or not. So if you want to combine this relation with this R2 relation, then it is not possible. We have seen that B determines only D. So it is not the super key of R2 or R3, 4. So we cannot merge them. So let's check whether we can merge R1 and R3, 4. So here the common attribute is AB. So whether AB determines all the attributes of R1 or R3, 4. So well, here we have only AB, and AB is only the AB should be the okay primary key or candidate key or super key, because AB can determine all the attributes of R1. So there is no problem. Yes, we can combine them. So here we write R1, 3, 4 and A, B, D, E, G. And well, moreover, AB can determine all the attributes of the relation R3, 4 also. Let's check. AB, C, AC determines B, and AC determines B. Okay, B determines D. So AD determines E, and E determines G. So can you see AB determines all the attributes of R3, 4. So that's why we can say AB is the super key of both the relations. So we can combine these two relations also. So now check, can we combine this relation with this relation or not? So we cannot combine because we cannot determine all the attributes of R134 or R2. So that's why we will say the first decomposition is lossy decomposition. Okay. Now check whether this decomposition is lossless or lossy. So for this write R1 ABC, R2 A, C, D, E, R3 A, D, G. So first condition is that we have to check whether these subrelations cover all the attributes of the original relation or not. So here we have six attributes A, B, C, D, E, G. So first condition is checked. Yes, all the attributes of original relation is covered by these subrelations. So now we have to check, can we merge all these subrelations into a single relation or not. So first see, can we merge these two subrelations R1 and R2? So what is the common attribute between these two relations? Here we have AC. So check whether AC is the super key of R1 or R2. For this we have to find the closure of AC. So A, C. AC determines B and AB determines C. Okay. B determines D. AD determines E and E determines Z. So yes, AC can determine all the attributes of the original relation. So we can say AC is the super key of R2 also, because AC can determine D and E also, and AC can determine B also. So we can say that AC is the super key of both subrelations. Hence we can merge these two relations into one relation, that is R12. Write all the attributes A, B, C, D, E. So now we have to check, can we merge these two relations into one relation or not? So the common attribute between these two relations is AD. Find the attribute closure of AD. And the attribute closure of AD is A, D, it determines E. Okay, A, D, E. And now see here, AD determines E and E determines G. Okay, that's it. So can you see here, AD determines G. So we want AD should determine G, or AD should determine all the attributes of R12, that is B, C and E. So AD can determine all the attributes of R3. That's why D is the super key of R3. So we can say yes, we can merge these two relations into one relation. So after merging these three relations, we get one relation. So we can say yes, it is lossless decomposition. Okay. Now, let's see dependency preserving decomposition. All the functional dependencies of original relation R must be preserved. Let R be the relation schema with FD set F, and it is decomposed into n relations with n FD sets. So in general, if you perform union on all the functional dependencies of all the subrelations, then it is the subset of original functional dependency set. Why? Because all the functional dependencies of all the subrelations are only derived from F. Okay, so all the functional dependencies of all the subrelations are derived from only F. So that's why we can say that union of all the functional dependencies of all the subrelations is the subset of F. So if the union of all the functional dependencies of all the subrelations is equal to F, then we will say the dependency is preserved. Otherwise, if it is the subset, then we will say not preserving dependency. So, if we are talking about the two functional dependencies of two subrelations R1 and R2, so let's suppose R is decomposed into two subrelations R1 and R2, and it has functional dependency set F, and it has F1 and F2. So first of all, F1 and F2 functional dependency set are derived from F only. So that's why we can say that F covers F1 union F2. It is always true. It is always present there. So now we have to check whether F1 union F2 covers F or not. If it covers yes, then it is preserved. If it doesn't cover, then not preserved. So see this example. In this example, we are given a functional dependency set and we decompose the table into three subrelations. So first what we have to do, we have to identify non-trivial functional dependencies in sub-relations. So here we have relation R1 AB, relation R2 that is BC, and relation R3 that is CD. So first we have to find functional dependency set F1, F2 and F3. So we need to find all the non-trivial functional dependencies in subrelation. So single attributed functional dependencies will be like this, and here also B, C, C and D. We don't need to find double attributed functional dependencies because all the double attributed functional dependencies will be trivial functional dependencies. So to find these functional dependency, we have to find the attribute closure of A and B. So what is the attribute closure of A? It is A, B, C, D. Now find the attribute closure of B. It is B, C, D, A. So we can write here A determines B and B determines C. Okay. Okay, C. No, we cannot write it C here. We can write A because C is not present in this subrelation. So now B determines C here, and C. For this we have to calculate attribute closure of C, which is C, D, A and B. So we can write C determines B also. Here C determines D also. We have to find the attribute closure of D. And what is the attribute closure of D? It is D, A, B, C. Okay. So yes, D can determine C also. So this is the functional dependency set of all the relations. Okay. So we can say this is F1 union F2 union F3. So now we have to check whether the original functional dependency set is covered by F1 union F2 union F3 or not. So see, A determine B. Yes, it is there in this union. B tend to C. Yes. C tend to D. Yes. D tend to A. Okay. We don't have D can to A here directly, we cannot see here. So for this, first you have to find D closer into this F1 union F2 union F3. So find this D closer. So D can determine C, C can determine B and B can determine A. So yes, we can say D can determine A. So this functional dependency is also the member of F1 union F2 union F3. So all the dependencies of the original functional dependency set is covered by F1 union F2 union F3. That's why we can say that it is functionally preserved, functionally dependency preserved decomposition. Okay. Now see this one. In this we have three relations. So write this relation AB. Now R2, C, D, E and R3, E, F. Now we need to find all the non-trivial functional dependencies of all these subrelations F1, F2 and F3. Okay. So see, in this we can have only single attributed functional dependencies. In this we can have single attributed functional dependencies and double attributed functional dependencies. So these functional dependencies can be non-trivial here. In this we can find only single attributed functional dependencies. Okay. So now check A can determine B or not. For this, find the closure of A. What is the closure of A here? The closure of A is, okay, find the closure of A. In this, the closure of A is only A. Find the closure of B. So attribute closure of B is, okay, it is only B. because we cannot determine any attribute from B alone. Okay, so now find the attribute closure of C. So from the C you can determine C, D, E and F. Find the attribute closure of D. So what is the attribute closure of D? It is D, E and F. Find the attribute closure of E. It is E, F. Find the attribute closure of CD. CD's attribute closure is C, D. C can determine C, D and D can determine E and E can determine F. Now find the attribute closure of DE. D, E and F. Now EC, find the attribute closure of EC. C can determine D and we have E also. And E can determine F. Okay. Now find the attribute closure of E. This is E, F. And the attribute closure of F is F. Okay. So now write all the non-trivial functional dependencies of F1, F2 and F3. So in F1 there is no functional dependency because A cannot determine B or B cannot determine A. Now in the R2 all the functional dependencies that can be formed from these three attributes, write all these functional dependencies. So C can determine D and E. Now D can determine E. Okay, CD. Now CD can determine E and EC can determine here F. Oh sorry, EC can determine D. And in the F3 we have E can determine F. So this is the union of F1 union F2 union F3. So now we have to check. AB can determine CD, C can determine D and D can determine E, E determine F. In the set F1 union F2 union F3. So see, C determine D, yes. D determine E, yes. E determine F, yes. So all these three functional dependencies of the set F are covered in F1 union F2 union F3. We have to see whether AB can determine CD or not. So for this we have to find AB's attribute closure in the set F1 union F2 union F3. So what it will be? AB. So we can say here that AB cannot determine CD in F1 union F2 union F3 and that's why this decomposition is this decomposition does not preserve a functional dependency. So this is not a dependency preserved decomposition. Okay. Now solve this next example. Okay, so in this example, we have three relations A, B, C, A, C, D, E, and A, D, G. So see, in this we have single attributed functional dependencies A, B, C, and now we have double attributed functional dependencies. In this we have single attributed functional dependencies. And now we have double attributed functional dependencies. So there are so many functional dependency can be present in here. CD, then CE and DE. Now three attributed functional dependencies A, C, D, A, C, E, and now we have C, D, E. Here we have A, D, G, A, D, A, G and D. D. So you have to find attribute closure of every these attributes. So you just see here and just give your answer. So can A determine anything, B or C? So A cannot determine anything. Okay, B can determine anything. Yes, B can determine D, but nothing more. So can C determine A or B? Or no? AB can determine C. Yes, it is there. Now BC can determine A. So now check, BC can determine A. Yes. CA can determine B. So do we have here CA determine B? Yes, we have. Okay. So we have three functional dependencies in the set F1. Okay. Now check functional dependencies with these attributes in the given functional dependency F. So can A determine C, D or E? A can determine C, D or E? No. Can C determine A, D, E? C can determine A, D, E? No. Can D determine A, C, E? So no. Can E determine A, C, D? So let's see. No. AC can determine A, D or E. AC can determine D or E. So AC determine B and B determines D. So yes, we can write here D. Okay, you find the attribute closure of AC. It will be more clear to you. So what is the attribute closure of AC? A, C, AC determines B and B determines D. And BC determines A. Okay, this is done. B determines D. And AD determines E and E determines G. Okay, so from now here you can write AC can determine D, AC can determine E also. Okay, now find the attribute closure of AD. So what is the attribute closure of AD? AD can determine E and E can determine G. And AB, AC, AD can determine E, ED, BC. Okay, so this is the attribute closure of AD. So can we write here AD determines E? Yes. Now find the attribute closure of AE plus. So AE determines E determines G. Okay, that's it. So we can say AE determines nothing in this. Now CD determines what? CD determines, so find the attribute closure of CD, that is CD. So CD and CD. Okay, that's it. The CD does not determine any attribute A or E. Fine. Now check CE. CE determines CE. No, CE determines no attribute. DE. DE determines no attribute in the set ACDE. ACD determines ACD. So find the attribute closure of ACD plus, which is ACD. See, ACD, AD finds E. So yes, ACD can determine E. We have to check ACE determines D or not. AC determines B and B determines D. So yes, we can say ACE determines D. So now we have to check CDE determines A or not. So see here, CDE. So no, it does not determine any attribute from these A, C, D, E. Yeah, only we can say that A is not determined by C, D, E. See, in the exam, you will be given so much less time. Okay, to solve a question, you will be required a lot of time. But you have to solve this question in minimum time. So, the better way to solve this question is observing. So first observe all the functional dependencies, then you just write. And if you have some confusion, then write the attribute closure. Otherwise, just observe or just see and write the functional dependencies. So see, in this Check whether A determines D or G. A determines D or G. No. D determines A or G. D determines A or G. No. G determines A and or D. No. So with these attributes we have no functional dependencies. Now check AD determines G. So AD determines G. Okay, see, AD determines E and E determines D. So we can write here AD determines G. Now check AG determines D. No. And now check DG determines A. This is also no. So see how many functional dependencies we have in the set F1, F union F2, union F3. So we have these three functional dependencies, we have these two functional dependencies, and we have these two functional dependencies, and we have this one functional dependency. So this is the set of F1 union F2 union F3. So now we have to check this original functional dependency set is the member of F1 union F2 union F3 or not. So AB tend to C is the member of this, yes. AC tend to B is the member of this set, yes. AD tend to E is the member of this, yes. B tend to D is the member of this or not. So first, okay, by observing we can say yes, it is not the member. But for the surety, we have to find the attribute closure of B in the F1 union F2 union F3. So find the B's closure. Okay, yes, it is B only. So it does not determine, yeah, it does not contain this functional dependency, or we can say that B determine D. Functional dependency of original relation F is not in the union of all the functional dependency set of subrelations. BC tend to A, yes, it is present. E tend to G, E tend to G is not here. So find the attribute closure of E in F1 union F2 union F3, and it is E. So yes, this also is not present in F1 union F2 union F3. So that's why we can say that this decomposition is not dependency preserved. So this is not dependency preserved decomposition. Fine. देखिए यहाँ पे एक चीज़ ओके द वन थिंग इज हियर टू नोटिस then if you are having on the left side two attributes A and C, then it can determine only those attributes which are not present which are not present on the left side of this functional dependency. So here in this relation we have four attributes A, C, G, E. So on the left hand side we have AC. So on the right hand side it can determine only the two attributes D and E. It can determine, it is not surety. So we have to check only for these two attributes. You have to remember this point. It will make you easy to find all the functional dependency just by observing the original functional dependency set. Okay, so thank you for now.